Welcome back everyone for new video game pickups. This is for the month of January, and happy 2022. This is going to be a retro edition. First up, I will be doing and looking at a few things. Of course, in the past, I've already shown that I got a while back, but I haven't done in actual episode pickups. So first up is going to be, of course, the big one. Of course, that is the Geo Pocket Color. Complete in box, which is nice. Basic silver edition. Great handheld with many superb, of course, SNK fighting games on it. But yeah, even though, of course, I've had this for a while now, well over a year, just now finally showing it on pickups. But with that said, also two other games that not too long ago I got a hold of. First up we have, for the Pocket Color, we have Sonic the Hedgehog Pocket Adventure, which is considered by most to be the best handheld Sonic game, at least of the 90s in any case. It is by far superior to anything the Game Gear ever had. Though Sonic 2 on the Game Gear is good, but still this is arguably the best handheld Sonic game in my opinion of this specific era. Also, if you are a big fan of golf games, this is definitely something I highly recommend checking out. This is arguably, I think of at least handheld games of any handheld of all time, arguably the best golf game you can find. And that is NeoTurf Masters. It's considered by many to be one of the greatest and most underrated golf games of all time. Not a big golf game person myself overall, with the exception of things like Hot Shots Golf and stuff like that. But seriously, this is a superb, great game. If there's any SNK collections that include NeoTurf Masters, I highly recommend checking it out. This is a amazing, solid golf game for handheld. With that said, that is it for this part of the retro. Now we're moving on to a couple of things from Nintendo. Actually, everything else is Nintendo. First up, we have a Midway Greatest Hits arcade, or rather arcade hits, with 4 classic Midway arcade games. This is for Game Boy Advance. Unfortunately, didn't include the box, just the book, along with the actual cartridge itself. But yeah, as you see, there's definitely some classic gems in this. And another great compilation to have. Next up, one other compilation for the Game Boy Advance. Now, at least this one is complete. And got it relatively cheap. But you definitely get 4 true all-time classics. One of probably the greatest classic era racing games from this time period. Also, of course, Miss Pac-Man, which many consider to be the best 2D Pac-Man game of all time. Dig Dug, which is sort of considered a clone by many of Pac-Man, though it definitely has its own unique twist on the formula. And then, in my opinion, the best of the 4 games, of course, Galaga. Because let's be honest, you can't go wrong with Galaga. Unless you, like me, actually like Galaxian a little bit more, but whatever on that. But another great, of course, Namco Museum compilation. Next up is more of a device than an actual game. Released originally for the Game Boy Advance, a very interesting device you would plug into your Advance console, and then you would swipe cards through this little swipe strip with special particular cards, which luckily also included some of the cards and stuff of some of the games. Like, for instance, you need, like, this says, of course, card 1 of 5. Yeah, until you'll need 5 cards. Basically, what you would do to play the game is you would just swipe, as you see the barcode swipe things on both sides, you would just simply swipe all 4 of them, or all 5 of them, and that would give you a full game. Now, at the time, this was one of the only ways you could play on handheld, basically Ice Climber, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest underrated classic games from Nintendo. But that's just me. Of course, you also have great classics like, besides Donkey Kong Jr., you have like classic Pinball, and many other games. But the trick is trying to find complete sets of the cards. That's the real trick. Some you can get cheap, and some are expensive as heck, like Ice Climber, unfortunately. So this is a great addition to the collection. Since only more recent time, I got interested in occasionally here and there buying stuff for the Game Boy Advance. So, now that I have an e-reader, I'll probably be trying to keep my eyes out for like full sealed packs of the cards and stuff so I can get like full games for the e-reader. Definitely one of the most interesting add-ons I think Nintendo's ever done, perhaps, arguably. With that said, now we're going on. There's 4 more games, and all of them are Super Nintendo. First up is something I did show in the past. Surprisingly complete in box. It's considered by many to be like a vanilla RPG from the 16-bit era. I gotta say though, like the design logo and stuff, I love the artwork on the cover. As you see, done by Virgin Games back when they existed. On the back, this is basically what it looks like graphically in the games. It actually doesn't look half bad in my opinion. The 2D graphics actually look pretty good for the most part. And yeah, that's more or less the open world. It's not the most complicated, it's definitely probably one of the easiest, like, action RPGs. Gameplay-wise, this has a similar gameplay feel and style to it of games like either Mother, aka Earthbound. There's also elements in it that kind of remind me of games like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which is a guilty pleasure game of mine. But definitely, Young Merlin is an interesting looking game, and I look forward to eventually get around to actually do a playthrough of the game and give my thoughts in a review. When that is, I'm not sure, because I'm so backlogged right now as it is. Still, it's great to actually get complete in box a Super Nintendo game that is arguably very much unknown. If you look at what videos there are here on YouTube on this game, not many people have done videos on it. Now, with that said, also a few other interesting things. Got special cardboard stuff. Now, the next is definitely an interesting game, I would say. Has the actual original, like, cover stuff from when it was in a video store, which is interesting. And this is a classic many people consider not great or so on, which is basically a copy, I guess you could say, of Tetris, more or less, is the best way to describe this. It's definitely an interesting game. It would also get a, like, Game Boy Color or something release. And that is, of course, the game Yoshis Cookie, which I'll be honest, I think is criminally underrated game. This game is awesome, and I wish more people would. And believe it or not, I actually got this game in pretty good condition. I ended up paying, I think, only like $12 for this. And for a Super Nintendo game, that's insanely cheap. But, yeah, like, not everything, but at least it does have the original booklet. And then, of course, the game itself. Definitely an interesting game, to say the least. But like I said, I think it is underrated. And if you get a chance to try out Yoshi's Cookie, get it. It is a great game. If you like Tetris and games like Tetris, then you definitely enjoy Yoshi's Cookie. Last two are, first up, definitely some somewhat infamous, I guess, games you could say. They're more educational games, but they are Mario related. The first of which is called Mario's Time Machine. Now, there are 2 other educational Mario games on the Super Nintendo I want to get my hands on. I want to have all of the unique educational Mario games. Just because they're very odd and not very well known, and thanks to that and not being high in demand, they are actually very reasonable in price range. So that's good for collectors. But yeah, Mario's Time Machine is very unique. It's basically to teach about things like in the time frame and stuff, going to the different time periods. It's definitely interesting, to say the least. And the other one, I think, is probably a little bit better well known, mostly because the Completionist did an episode on it. Good old Gerard. And that is the game Mario is Missing. A very interesting game. This would actually be, I believe, about the first game ever where the main character in the game would actually revolve around, well, Luigi, believe it or not. It is kind of weird how the game plays, but basically you go to like different places in the world and would travel, and that would teach you about those cultures and stuff. Overall, I think overall the 2D pixel art and stuff in the game is actually pretty good. It's interesting. Also, you have in the game Yoshi as well. But it's definitely an interesting one, as is this definitely some of the more interesting games on the Super Nintendo. But with that said, that's it for January Pickups Retro Edition. Stay tuned in the future. Next month, I believe, is going to be a Nintendo Switch edition, and March will be a PS4 edition. Then I'm working on a special handheld for April. But with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. Stay safe out there, and hopefully enjoy the music from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. See you soon.